Hi, this is Quinn, and welcome back to Quinn Tech. Well, this is a new video. This is kind of my sort of review or overview, I guess, of my new multimeter. I got it a couple of months ago, maybe a month and a half ago now. It was about 2 months ago when I recorded this. It's taken me a minute to get to editing the footage, but it is the cheapest multimeter you can buy on Amazon. My friend Adam told me I should get one, and I wish I had used it on this PlayStation before I plugged it in and fried it even worse than I already messed up with the soldering. But alas, c'est la vie, this is what happened. So the first part I'm talking about it, and it's called the Plusivo brand. I kept calling it Pulsivo. I guess I had a little dyslexia moment. But anyway, it seems to be a fairly quality product. It's not the best you can buy on the market, obviously, being the cheapest one you can buy on Amazon, but it seems to be capable. And that's basically what I'm doing in this. And then I talk a little bit about the damage I did on the Sony PlayStation board, and that I am going to attempt to get it working again. So I hope you enjoy this, and thanks for coming back to Quintech Retro. And I appreciate you, and thank you for supporting my channel. And press that like, subscribe, hit that bell icon if you're so inclined, if you want to get alerted to every single one of my newest videos. And I guess, without further ado, we'll move along with my latest video. My friend Adam that got me basically to start this, well, he didn't get me to start this channel, but we had a challenge when I first started this channel, and that's what motivated me in the first few months. He said, you need to go buy a multimeter. And I don't think this is a very good one. I haven't used it yet. I bought it. Actually, I've had this for over a month, maybe almost 2 months. But I haven't pulled it out of the package. It is, I believe, the very cheapest one I could purchase on Amazon. But I have one. So, let's open this up. And he told me, make sure you get one that has good contact leads or whatever those are called. I just bought the cheapest one, so I don't know how good these are or are not. But it comes with some. So, you saw earlier I was using one of these to strip those wires, and I tried to clamp down like that, because that is like a little razor blade right there. And if you clamp down on a cable that's big enough, you can strip that cable. But the cables I was working with, these, they came from the inside of a Ethernet cable. I was like, hey, these will work. I have wires, but why don't I just use these from inside this Ethernet cable, because they're like color coded and I can see better which contact I'm connecting up to. So I use these, but when I tried to, I'll just demonstrate. When I try to use this, even in the very smallest, even if I go to the very smallest little thing, if I squeeze as hard as I can, well, maybe if I squeeze as hard as I can, let me try that again. But this takes 2 hands. I squeeze as hard as I can. Come on. And squeeze as hard as I can. And then when I pull it, it's just loose. It's not even clamped. So I ended up having to use this little end, this tip. So I was putting that in there, using my thumb, giving it some force, like that. Well, then I'm able to strip the wire. Well, anyway, I already had this from my original soldering kit that my sister bought me a couple years ago, that I wasn't sure why I wanted it, but I did, and now I'm using it, and now I'm finding out that I need to learn a whole lot more about soldering. But this kit, this Plusivo MultiMeter, it comes with one of these as well. So now I have two of these, and it's probably just, yeah, I don't think, even if I squeeze that down all the way, I don't know if that would strip that. Let me see. Actually, I can test that. Let's see. Let's see if this new one, if I put that in the same spot, the very smallest. Actually, this one seems like it might work. And I didn't realize I actually had this until I opened this box. Can I get that through there? There we go. Alright, so this one may actually work. No, I just squeezed it. I'm squeezing it as hard as you can squeeze it. Still not stripped, so it's even, yeah, they're pretty much the same. They might even be exactly the same item, I don't know. This is a darker yellow color, but they're basically identical. So even this new one, I could not have stripped that skinny wire with that little stripping point. I still would have had to use this and give pressure with my thumb to hold it down. So this also came with a little small package of electrical tape. This is actually a little bit skinnier than usually when you buy electrical tape. It's slightly fatter, maybe like 2 or 3 millimeters wider, but anyway, it's just electrical tape. And then here's the multimeter itself. It's rather small. If you look at my hand, here's my hand. I have a pretty normal sized adult human being hand. I'm not a giant, so anyway, that's the size of it. So it's rather small. Some multimeters are like up to here and come down like to over to here. This one's rather small. Hopefully it works. I've never tested it. I'm about to find out. And then it also came with this little box that comes with the probes. Again, my friend said, make sure you get one that has quality probes. I don't know how quality these are. We're about to find out. Okay, so here they are. They have, and also my workbench here, it looked rather clean earlier, last night. before I start on this PlayStation project, and then everything went awry, and I pulled all this extra stuff out. All this extra stuff. My controller. Well, there's my neighbor's Nintendo, but that's just sitting there off to the side. And there's my damaged board, all disconnected from its housing. Again, like I said, I did plug this in, and the Sony PlayStation logo still comes up in the little menu where I can like see what's on my memory card, but the CD does not spin up, and it was working fine prior to me trying to do this mod. So it didn't just happen on its own. I did it. So, okay, I haven't looked at the probes yet. They're covered. They have little covers, so that's nice. But this does have a pretty nice little length of wire. I think that's about 5 feet, maybe even 6 feet. 6 feet of cord. Oh, and even the probe ends have these little caps. So I can't even plug that into anything. I can't even plug that into the meter unless I remove that little cap. Both of them have that. Let me show it on the side here how that works. Just a little piece of plastic that slides up in there. But I've also seen, recently I saw a video, it might have been Adrian's Digital Basement, but it could have been someone else, where they bought some of these and they were all deformed and they could hardly even press them in. Maybe it was LGR, I don't know. Anyway, so I guess these little caps keep this in the proper shape. Alright, so how these work. So here's your multimeter. You got your well, it's not very clear. I think your red goes on the left and your black goes on the right. I need to make sure that's correct before I screw this whole thing up. Oh, and I guess it comes with batteries included, because as soon as I turn that switch, I got an LED display. Getting an LED display. And like I said, I've had this for a couple months, but this is the first time I've actually even tried to use it. So the probes themselves, they have these little caps on them. And I mean, they're not syringe sharp, but you can put an eye out with these things. So I know, let me see, continuity. Well, that's the ohms. That's the ohms little. I did take some electronic classes, but this was like 15 years ago. So I don't remember all the language, but there's got to be. How do you put in continuity mode? Oh, and this kind of, look, it has a little stand, so you can set it there and still see it. Instead of it just laying flat on the table, it has this little stand. I mean, it's loosey, so you can't like put it in there and make it stand straight up like that. I mean, it is because I have that box there, but I guess it only has that one position. But it's still nice that it has that feature for the cheapest multimeter you can find on Amazon. So where is continuity mode? Well, maybe I gotta look at this manual for a second. I thought it would be a little bit more intuitive, but this has all these different settings. It's off right now. Then you got 600 negative volt, 200 battery, 1.5 volt, 9 volt. So maybe that's where you'd go if you were going to test if, oh yeah, I guess your standard like AAA and AA batteries usually output about 1.5 volts. So maybe this is how I could test a AAA or AA battery. And then a 9 volt battery, which aren't as common as they used to be. But if you have a smoke detector, you probably have one in there. They used to use them for transistor radios and a bunch of stuff like that you could buy at Radio Shack back in the 80s when I was a kid. But 9 volt batteries aren't that common nowadays. Those are those little rectangle shaped ones with the two connections on the top. One male, one female. You can plug two of them together and they'll get really hot and they could explode if you leave them. Or you can stick it on your tongue to see if there's still a charge on it. If you feel something on your tongue, you know it still has some juice. I don't recommend doing that, but I have done it. I've done it. Then you have your different, what is this? Two milliamps, 20 milliamps, 200 milliamps, 10 amps. Maybe that's continuity. Maybe that's the continuity symbol. I don't know. Then you got 200 milliamps, 2K, which is 2,000, 20,000. Oh, these is ohms. These are ohms. Okay. So that's amps. That's amps. This is ohms. Amps is like output power. Ohms is usually the amount of resistance, I think, from what I remember from my electronics class. And then you got your voltage. And you got 200 millivolts, 2 volts, 20 volts, 200 volts, 600 volts. This little thing that I bought for like $12, $15 can handle 600 volts. I could be reading this wrong. That doesn't seem possible, but maybe. And then it's got this little, I don't know what exactly this little, it's an asterisk, so that doesn't really tell me what it's supposed to mean. And this is a hold button. And I think the hold button, it just, actually I could probably test that real easily. I could look there. Actually, let me go to this. I think this is, that is, continuity. Let's see. Absolutely it is. I was correct. So that has continuity. It even makes a little beeping noise. The speaker in it's a little flaky, but you can still hear it. So yeah, hold. So it has a little H there. It holds your last reading, so you can remember what it said until you're ready for the next. And then maybe press again. Oh yeah, and then it releases the hold. Oh, that's for backlighting. Okay, so that's what that is. Okay, so it appears to be working. It has backlighting. It has the hold function. It's a really cheap, I mean, it's very light. It came with batteries included. It came out of the box working, so that's nice. It's been quality checked, and it passed its quality check. So I guess that means this is a quality product. Again, like I say, the very cheapest multimeter you can buy on Amazon. But that's what I've got. So I'm going to try to use this to figure out how to fix. And I'm more than likely, because again, I had wrapped this electrical tape around here, and I didn't put it completely back. I didn't screw it back together, but I put it back in its sort of in its case and turned it on, and I could still see the Sony PlayStation logo, and the boot up sound came up, and I could still look at my memory cards because I did plug in the components where the memory cards plug into and the controller, and I could still go around the menu, but I know this had this closed lid lockout, but this is the button basically, and I was holding this button to tell the system that the lid was closed, and that CD tray or CD drive, it never even attempted to spin up. So I obviously screwed something up, but I'll be damned if I don't figure out how to fix this Sony PlayStation, because I just got those pew 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 pew. I just ordered those two light gun controllers from Japan because I really wanted to play some light gun games on this system, and that's why I bought this mod chip. And now I can't because I'm pretty sure I fried the mod chip, and I pulled a trace. You could see it on camera. The trace pulled up off the board, but then the pad, like, just fucking, the pad was just gone. And I tried to connect to these other vias, and it's hard to tell under the camera how tiny these components are. I mean, I don't have magnification. I'm just doing this dead eye, just straight with my actual physical eyesight. I'm doing all this work. a lot of people use like little magnetic goggle or not magnetic, um, magnifying goggles or under a microscope that has a camera attached to it that they can look on a screen to see what they're doing. I'm doing this just dead-eyed, just looking at it, trying to see it. And I can't quite figure out right below that little component, I think that might be a surface mount capacitor, some kind of surface mount device. Right below that is where this wire, that's where this wire was supposed to connect. And that's where I lifted that trace. The trace that went from there down to there. But again, I looked at that picture printout, and it looks like that trace just goes from there to there, and then down to over here somewhere. So I tried to connect it here, because I couldn't get any solder to stick anywhere around there. And then this wire connected next to that wire. Well, then I somehow, I don't know how, I somehow screwed up that pad as well. And they're like almost right next to each other. So I might have accidentally done a bridge. I might have done a bridged connection between these two wires. And I think that's what caused this mod chip to get so hot that it melted a hole through this electrical tape. So that's not supposed to happen. I mean, it may still work, but I don't have a whole lot of hope for it. If you look at the actual chip itself, the chip itself doesn't look absolutely terrible, but it does kind of feels a little crusty. Yeah, I think I might have killed that little microchip. So I might have to get a new mod chip to be able to play these light gun games that I was so excited to play this weekend. But I apparently am not going to be able to unless this is actually still working and I can figure out how to connect these wires up correctly again. And this one came loose as well, this blue one. It connected like, oh yeah, like right there. I had it tacked down, but again, like I say, these little solder pads are so tiny. It's hard to get a good solid, I don't want to break any other of these solder points because they're actually attached, but and even this one, was meant to connect to the side of this component. This might be another capacitor, but you were supposed to add solder to the side of it, and it looks a little janky, but it also looks like it's connected correctly. It just looks a little janky. So anyway, that's what I'm dealing with this weekend. I was hoping to put out a video where I could play my light gun games, and I don't think that's going to happen. But I will continue to work on this, and I need to get back to my Amiga now that I've been doing a little bit more soldering on other projects, and I've had a couple of successes. This was another failure, but I've had a couple of successes. Maybe I look back into working on my Amiga. So like I say, I do want to get back to maybe getting this Amiga working. I really need to send it off to this guy. I've been dragging my feet about doing that. He said he would. I contacted him again a couple of weeks ago. He said he was still willing to do it. Still had a few projects ahead of me, which is fine. It's been sitting in storage for 15, 17 years, so I'm in no huge rush to get it working again. And then once I do get it working again, it's going to be a lot of work to figure out how to use the system. I haven't used it since 1999. So I tried to get this my Amiga emulation station working, and all of a sudden it didn't want to work right. Every time I would try to boot it, I would get some kind of overheating error or something, and I went to all the I took it, I opened it up, I cleaned out all the dust that was on the heat sink. I made sure I cleaned all the dust off the fan on the heat sink. I made sure the fan on the heat sink was spinning. I removed the heat sink, cleaned off all the solder paste, added fresh solder paste. I looked online at a couple of things. They said go into the BIOS and reset this one setting. I did that. To no avail. It keeps not working. But anyway, that is a whole other story. But this is about the Plusivo MultiMeter, and I feel like it'll work for my purposes for the time being until I get to be more of a professional. I know I got to work on my soldering. I'm not that good at it. I can do like some simple stuff, but this was a little bit more intricate. It had those tiny little things I was trying to solder to, very small traces. So if I get some of those magnification goggles that I see a lot of people use on the YouTube videos, then I think I can maybe have a little bit better luck working on this. So thanks for coming along. I appreciate you once again. Like, subscribe, hit that bell icon if you're so inclined. And thank you for coming. And you have a good night. And pretty soon I'll be able to pew, 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 pew. Fingers crossed.